Welcome to Q Mind Body. My name is Darren Main, and in this podcast, we talk about all things having to do with gay men's health, wellness, and spirituality, trying to move the conversation from just disease prevention to actual wellness. In this episode, I'm going to be talking to Daniel Jones. He is a designer and an amazing human person. He dances. I could watch him dance all day long. His dancing brings me to my happy place. And we're going to be talking about finding your happiness from the inside out, having happiness be more of an inside job rather than an external search that we're on. Before I get to that, I will put links to his website and my website in the show notes, as well as any resources we mention. And we encourage you to like, subscribe, and share. And we have a Facebook group that you can join if you'd like to continue the conversation. Again, all of that is in the show notes. And I am partnering with the Gay Wellness website to bring you this wonderful podcast. And if you're looking for a healer of any kind, whether it's a massage therapist, a psychotherapist, a coach, anything at all, in your area or somewhere else around the world, you can find it in this amazing directory of LGBTQ plus healers. With that said, I'm going to bring in Daniel. Daniel, how are you?
Doing wonderful. How are you doing, Darren?
I am doing amazing. I'm so excited to chat with you, my friend.
Yeah, it's
Um,
it's an honor to be here.
we were talking before we went live about when I first met you and the evolution of our hair. And I think, did I have long hair when we met?
No.
No, okay. I used to have really long blonde hair, like straight blonde hair. But when I met you, you had short hair, and now you've got these beautiful dreads that I'm sort of crushing on. So,
There's been an evolution. Like much of my life has been an evolution. I'm always changing, switching things up, and keeping the show
yeah.
interesting. So,
Well, let's talk a little bit about you first. I first want to say this, like you are one of the most positive people I know, and I say that there's some people who are positive, but it seems like a spiritual bypass where they're really good at plastering on a smile and
all
having
right.
that bouncy, bubbly personality, but you get the sense that under the surface they're really hurt and broken inside, that
Mm-hmm.
they've painted the walls, but they haven't like looked at the cracks on the foundation of the house.
All right.
You are not that way. In all the years I've known you, you really your warmth and your happiness and the way you dance and move your body seems to come from a place of deep healing and deep authenticity.
Yeah.
And that's why I invited you on. And so I'm wondering, how did you get to be the amazing, beautiful gay man that you are?
Well, I would say I feel like all that happiness, it is coming from an authentic place. It's really just this, the shorter summary of that is realizing at some point in my life that life itself is limited and very short. And that it's, this dream sequence, you can have as much fun with it as you want. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's where it really comes from. Like living every day with gratitude.
You can take this question anywhere you like, but
Absolutely.
uh, I find that some of the most authentic people I've ever met, it comes not from having a perfect childhood or a perfect past, but struggling with something, whether it's
Mhm.
addiction or being shamed for being gay or whatever. We all have our histories. I'm wondering if there was some fire in your past that helped forge you into who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're right on that. I had a wonderful upbringing, which is actually part of, my happiness. I have a great support system. I won't go too far into it on this podcast, but there was a health crisis that I experienced a long time ago. And that really like snatched the blindfolds, the veil off my eyes. And it was kind of a wake up call, that um, can't really take life for granted or health for that matter, really be appreciative and, um, just take every day for what it is, better or worse.
Yeah.
You know, it's a magical and beautiful thing to be alive and to have the experiences of living in this world. So,
Yeah. Have you seen? Somehow it came across my YouTube feed, and it made me think of you. And it was right as I was like preparing for this conversation.
mm.
um, and I'll tell you why it made me think of you in a minute. But it's a really old Pepsi commercial with Michael Jackson,
Oh yeah,
and there's these sort of these kids on the street, and they're dancing, and one of them sort of dressed like a young Michael Jackson,
I know
and
exactly.
he's moonwalking and doing all the classic Michael Jackson moves, and he bumps right into actual real Michael Jackson, and just how he sort of like Michael Jackson gives him a Pepsi, and it just sort of makes his day. And it made me think of you because I'm like, I wonder if Daniel um A met Michael Jackson. No, more like what were you always a dancer?
No, no,
Or is
no.
this
Actually,
something that is new? What inspired you? If not
uh,
a gift of a can of Pepsi from Michael Jackson.
I wish that were the case. No, so everything, at least in my life, is a series of domino effects. Dancing is something that I took up in the last probably it was 3 years now, and that came as a result of me discovering roller skating during the pandemic.
Mm.
That was
You've
like,
only
my
been dancing for 3 years?
yes, I go all in with everything that I put my
Wow.
interest and heart into. So dance for me is, it's like church. So I can't help it. It's where I can express myself, get my yagas out, meet community, you know, take on scary scenarios and, keep exercising that confidence. So
Yeah. Um, if you don't mind me asking, I'm sure I know
Mhm.
this somewhere in the back of my head, but how old are you? Because
I
in
am,
my mind, you're still like 25.
I mean, yeah, maybe 25 at heart, but I am going to be 44 this year, actually, in like a
Wow.
couple weeks. So I'm looking forward to that. And, I always say this. And this could be me at my age and just my lens of the world, but I always tell people your age, how you feel, like you're only old when you say you're old.
Yeah.
It's all
Well, I
mentality
think
and
that there comes a point. I've had this conversation with my mom, and she's like, "I'm too old to do that." And I'm
yeah,
like, "Don't ever say that. If you want to do something, do it, and if you don't. But
yeah,
don't use your age as an excuse. Like
no,
if you
absolutely
want to
not.
take up roller skating at age 40, take up
Hmm.
roller skating."
Yeah.
But very few people have that ability to color outside the lines, if you were. Like, you're 40 years
Hmm.
old. 40-year-olds don't roller skate. Everybody knows that, right?
Well, not this 40-year
And
old.
and you hear that and you're like, oh yeah, watch me. How do you
Exactly.
like how did you get that quality?
I think I just stay curious. I always stay curious. I always stay open to things in the world. I always have confidence in myself. And I always believe that, again, in this dream sequence of life, anything is possible if you manifest and believe in it
Mm.
and truly like go for it and work for it. So, yeah,
Well,
I like a good challenge too. So, someone
yeah.
tells me I can't do it, then that's more fuel to my fire.
How have you, as a gay man, um, I think as gay men, there is an incredible freedom because we sort of break in the rules right out of the gate, right? If you're having sex with men, dating men, there's sort of
Mhm.
some societal rules that you're already breaking. So we're sort of good at breaking rules.
Mhm.
But we can also get very trapped in
Mhm.
how gay men are supposed to act and behave, notions of masculinity and
Mhm.
being an effeminate gay man, or we sort of have a set of rules all our own. I've never known you to follow them, and I'm
Mhm.
wondering if you have advice for other gay men who are sort of like happy that they're out. They're
Mhm.
definitely happy that they're openly gay, but not feeling like the gay world is all that much better than the straight world in terms of them finding happiness and authenticity.
Right.
And
Yeah.
you are one of the few people I know that seems to have done that in a really organic. natural way,
Hmm.
without years and years of therapy. I'm wondering if you have any advice. I mean,
Well,
and do you
I'm
ever get depressed or stuck? I've never seen you do that.
I don't I've never been depressed per se. I have had my bad days 'cause I'm human. I have had plenty of scenarios where I felt stuck. Um, in those scenarios, though, I always feel it's my own responsibility to undo that and to figure it out. It's no one else's, you know? I can lean
Yeah.
into my support systems to help me get to that place. But as far as gay men who may be, you said, struggling, perhaps, it's, for me, like when I came out, it was a really glorious thing. I, grew up in a time a long time ago when, there weren't many, at least forwardly out gay figures, not even on television. And I didn't have any gay friends, at least I knew at the time. So, when I came out, I was 18 in college. And I was just kind of like, I'm living this life. It doesn't seem like it's authentic at all. It feels gross to be, trapped in this lifestyle that I've adopted. And I just went rogue. I was like, we're gonna try something else. We're gonna go with my feeling. We're just gonna try it. We're gonna go for it. And I went for it, and it was the best thing ever. There were fireworks. And I never looked back. I came out to everyone, and I was so proud, and I didn't care who didn't accept me. I just was me. That's all I need is like my own acceptance of who I am, and everyone else will come to me that I need to be in my, close circle.
Yeah.
So,
I think for a lot of us, in psychology, there's a concept called the locus of control. And it's,
mm,
do you find your power in the outside world or the inner world?
mhm,
And the goal to being authentic is to have it be from that internal knowing of this is who I want to be, this is where I want to go, this is how I want to live my life, this is the person I want to be.
yeah,
And the outside world may affirm that and celebrate it, or it may shame me and crucify me and call me mean names, but I
mhm,
don't really care. That's
yeah,
an internal locus of control. But most of us spend at least some time in that external world. We do care what other people think. It does hurt when our family doesn't accept us.
mhm,
Um, uh, I'm wondering, how do you, when you find yourself like hearing that any negative feedback from the external,
mhm.
whether it's a family member who doesn't understand you or a friend or just I don't know, like how do you receive that, and how do you transform it into something so it's not dragging you down, it's sort of empowering you,
Yeah.
so to
Well,
speak.
I'll tell you this, Darren, I don't know if everyone can, again, this is the way I navigate my life. I can only offer advice through my experiences, but I'll give you an example. And sorry, mom, if you're listening or watching. So there was a time, my parents are lovely people. We come from the Midwest, good hearts, good intentions. But my family, at least I felt when I was younger, they didn't quite understand me, we'll say. I was kind of an oddball in the sense that, even when I was younger, maybe perhaps I did have a curiosity to kind of do the things that weren't the norm. But anywho, there was a point where my mother actually asked me, she said, why must you do such weird art and do such weird things or provocative? And I just paused her in her tracks. I said, Mother, stop, 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 stop. I said, so look, if you deem anything that I do in my life to be weird, I said, I challenge you to go into the bathroom, look into the mirror, and point the finger at yourself because I'm merely a reflection of something that exists in you. And I didn't ask for this life, you gave it to me. So this is actually your fault. And she laughed, so she
How
laughed,
old
she
were you
got it.
when you said this? Most
I was
adults couldn't come up with that.
I was 33 and I had enough. That's where
Okay.
it came from.
Yeah.
I had enough. She's my mother. It's like, you're supposed to protect me. You're my family. Don't challenge me. And I
Yeah.
told her, I said, Mother, I am a good, honest human being, only with best intentions in this world for myself and others. If you deem anything I do in my life to be weird and I'm a great person, what's the problem? That's something that you
Yeah.
have to work out, not me. And she got it right away. And she never messed with me again, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what I adopt. I just live my truth. I speak my truth. if I'm in disagreement with, something that someone challenges me with, I'm very quick to speak up about it, but also receive and listen to their point of view. So,
Hmm.
yeah,
I wrote about this I have a book about the Wizard of Oz as a spiritual metaphor.
yeah,
And the Munchkins represent the tribe of our childhood, our parents, our aunts,
hmm,
uncles, religion. And the job of our childhood tribe is to teach us to survive in the
hmm,
world. And our job is to inspire evolution and growth. And so they have these rules for survival, and sometimes they work. And, don't stick your finger in the light socket. It's probably a
hmm,
good rule to have, but sometimes they don't. And our job when we live authentically is to help them challenge those beliefs. And
yep,
some people never challenge their parents, they just do what they're told.
hmm,
And some people do it in a really, they challenge them, but they're always so aggressive and angry as they challenge them. How dare you get my pronouns wrong, you awful person. Right?
right,
And so it doesn't foster a conversation. But then, like
mm,
what you just said, was that beautiful, sweet middle path where you're not yelling at your mother, you're not shaming her, you're just inviting her to see things in a new way.
absolutely.
And it worked.
Because everyone has a different perspective and lens in the world. And I have to be respectful of that. I feel the way I feel and they will feel the way they feel. But, I always am open to hearing that perspective before I make any judgment or quick,
Yeah.
conclusion. But I also will speak my truth as well.
Yeah.
So it's a delicate dance, like you said.
Um, a, a big part of your work
Mm,
is art, whether it's
mm,
dancing
yep.
or artwork that you're creating. You're always sending me pictures of stuff you've created.
Yeah.
What were you painting Easter eggs recently and
No,
sending them to me? What, was it Easter? What were you? It was something for Easter? What were you doing?
I have no idea, quite honestly. My days are blurred together between all the work and all the places I am, and I don't know, but I'm always involved in something creative. I mean, everything I do has a creative roots to it.
Whatever it was, I was like, how cool is that? It was like brought me right back to childhood and the fun of like it just. I remember when my son was little, he used to he'd be in like preschool and they give him a coloring book page to color, and it would just like scribble as if there were no lines on the page at all.
Yeah.
But the joy he got from it, and
Hmm.
and I remember being that free, where you can color between the lines if you want, but you don't have to. And anyway,
Well, the
my
world would be
point, my
boring if
point,
everyone colored in the lines, wouldn't it?
it would be so boring.
Yeah.
Um, uh, you do design work professionally, and I'm wondering
Correct.
if you could speak to that, because I think um, design, whether it's the clothing we wear or the space we live in or the
Hmm.
space we work in or your garden, it really has a profound effect on our psyche, on our.
Absolutely.
And I'm wondering how this is an extension of you and how you feel that design work is potentially supportive for the people you work with. Not just
Yeah.
on like, I have a pretty space to live in, but
No, yeah.
yeah,
I think somewhere along the way, I realized maybe I always knew inside, but I realized along the way there is magic in art, and you can extend it across all mediums, whether it's singing, painting, photography, you fill in the blank. And that magic is that, through art, you have this power to impact people, to impact their souls, even the world. You can change the world with art design, and things of that nature. And so, for better or worse, too, mind you, by the way. But I realized that, the art or designs, for example, that I was producing and I am producing, they have an impact to make people feel positive. I always, with intention, want people to feel great, empowered, healthy, excited, curious. So that's really, that's the core purpose of why I create work is I genuinely just like to see people happy in the experience of it. So
Yeah. If somebody wanted to consult with you
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
about your design work or just learn more, is the
Mhm.
best way for them to do that your website?
You can do website www.conceptdesigns.com. The concept has an E at the end because that's an acronym. So either that or my email address personally, dhjones@conceptdesigns.com with an
Huh.
E in the concept.
I'm a writer, and my editor said, "You're not a bad speller. You're a creative speller." I'm like, that's a nice spin to put on it.
Tell them you like to color outside the lines.
I like to. I like the words like I like the words. You know, when you go to India, I go to India quite a bit, and um, they have no respect for spelling whatsoever. You can read a menu and like see the word pizza spelled six different ways on the same menu, back to back. And at first, I used to point out, I'm like, I think you have a few typos here. They're like, no, I don't.
Yeah.
You know what the word says. Well,
It's
why are
painful
you
chaos.
harassing me?
All right.
And I love that. I'm like, oh wow, I feel free all of a sudden to be a bad
Mhm.
speller.
Yeah.
Um, well, I am going to put links to everything in the show notes so people can connect with you if they'd like to. Do you do work just in the Bay Area, or do work outside the Bay Area too? I
For now,
find design might be hard remotely, but
yeah, for now it's in the Bay Area. I'm not opposed to extending outside of the Bay Area. It would have to be, depending on the job or circumstances. But
yeah.
I'm still in the early developmental stages of my business, so I don't,
Hmm.
I'm trying to keep it closest to home for now, at least.
I'm sure the royal family in London is going to be contacting you to redesign Buckingham Palace.
Yeah, give me a call.
I'm just putting that on my vision board for you,
Thank you for
and I'm
manifesting that.
sure that will happen.
Yeah, and like I said, I
Um,
believe anything is possible. So,
no, I think you and Meghan Markle would get along really, really famously. I'm just saying, just
well,
saying.
Megan, call me up.
Say that again.
I said, Megan, call me up.
Oh, I thought you said or Kamala, like Kamala Harris. I'm like, I'm sure you and Kamala would get along famously as well.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, maybe.
yeah, I'm just saying, if you and Meghan Markle were to say have an affair and run away
Mm.
together, that would leave Prince Henry for me.
Well, I would never do
That's
that to
on
my
my
friend,
vision board,
first of all.
and I'm sure both of them are watching this podcast
Mm.
with horrified expressions on their face,
Or laughter in their hearts,
or,
so who knows?
or laughter.
Yeah.
Um, Well, my friend, it has been such a joy to chat with you. Seriously, you're like one of those people that I don't know if you watched True Blood, the
No,
series. Oh,
no.
it's so great and so sexy and lots of gay stuff in it.
And
They
blood.
really, for when it came out, it really pushed the edge of a
Mm.
good show.
Yeah.
Um, but now, by today's standards, it's a little tame, but not that tame. Anyway, you would be a fae. You're like a fairy, like just spreading sparkles everywhere you go. And I really thank you for being in my life and for being on this podcast.